Hey there, Corrales Cubs. Welcome to Scary Stories 2021 live via YouTube. We'll give people a few minutes to come in. I know it is 6:01, so it might take some time for people to get on and warmed up and ready to listen to some scary stories. I'm going to tell a couple jokes while we wait. I have some Halloween jokes. Why don't mummies have friends? Because they're too wrapped up in themselves. That's a good one. What do witches call their garage? They call it a broom closet. What is the witch's favorite makeup? Mascara is their favorite makeup. Miss Chris liked that one. What do witches use to make their hair look perfect? They use scare spray. All right. Don't forget, if you haven't already, don't forget to check out our pumpkin auction. I'm going to put a link into the chat down here so that people can check out all the pumpkins we have up for auction. There are some amazing ones. I can tell our students and parents put a lot of work into making some of these pumpkins. And I hope I win the auction for one or two of them because they really are amazing. It looks like we've got 23 folks tuned in. So Miss Melissa, I'm going to turn it over to you to tell your scary story.
Beautiful. Thank you. I submitted a pumpkin too. And eek! Halloween. I don't know if you can see the little chicken. That's my pumpkin. Eek! Halloween. This is a great story. This is for those that, kind of like the not so scary stories. Sandra Boynton. There's a big, round, dark moon and a dark, dark sky, and the chickens are nervous. Do you know why? It's because strange things are happening. We saw a pumpkin with flickering eyes. One saw a mouse of enormous size. One met a duck with ridiculous feet. They look like Frankenstein feet. One heard a robot intone, "Trick or treat!" They all saw a witch and a wizard too. Yes, the chickens are nervous, so here's what they do. They all hide their eyes. They don't dare to peek. Then some shout, "Boo!" and the chickens go, "Eek! What's going on here? What does it mean?" Relax, silly chickens. It's Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I hope that you are having a wonderful fall season and getting ready and thinking of your costumes. I have a very fun ghostly story to share with you, and it is by Mary June, and the beautiful illustrations are by Herm Ausch, and it is called Poltergeist. And I don't know if you know the word poltergeist, friends. That means a ghost. And so this is kind of a fun, silly story and a play on words. And apparently I have a chicken thing going on. I don't know what's up with that, but I don't know about you guys, but I like some chickens. So got a bad glare there. Sorry about that. So here we go. You can see the eyes. Ooh, a little bit scary. So friends, I have a question for you. Do you ever know some people that like that? They just want to follow all the rules. And, they're not really a lot of fun, right? Maybe some old grumps. Maybe you'll recognize those in this story. Let's see. Here we go. This is the story of Rudy and Ralph, two best friends that are chickens in the chicken yard. Rudy and his best friend Ralph were two rowdy roosters. They weren't loud on purpose, but there was so much to crow about. Each tried to be the first and the loudest to crow at sunrise every morning. Then they had contests all day long to decide who was the strongest or the biggest or the loudest. Friends, can you share your loudest rooster crow or your chicken crow? Here's mine. Ready? Let's do it together. Cluck, 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 cluck. Finally, at sundown, they wrestled each other for the highest roost in the barn. Most of the other farm animals didn't mind the racket. They were rather noisy themselves and barely even noticed Rudy and Ralph. The only ones who complained were Sophie, the pig, and Clarissa, the cow. "I need peace and quiet to make my milk," said Clarissa. "But Clarissa," Rudy said, "you give milk every day, no matter how loud we are." "You're keeping me awake every night," Sophie grunted. "I need my beauty sleep." "Can't argue with that one," Ralph whispered to Rudy. It was 2 days before Halloween, time to make costumes for the Halloween poultry parade. This caused even more than the usual commotion. "I am losing my patience with this uproar," Clarissa bellowed. "Me too," snorted Sophie, and the two of them went off in a huff. "What old grumps," Ralph said. "They can't remember what it's like to have fun. I bet that they were never young at all." Rudy felt sorry about bothering Clarissa and Sophie. He tried to be quiet for the whole next day. But when the animals gathered in the barn that night to finish their Halloween costumes, he got caught up in the excitement and added his voice to the squawking. "Oh, look at all their costumes. They're sewing and getting ready and cutting their jack-o'-lanterns. Oh, so much fun." Suddenly, a huge figure rose up in the far corner of the barn, its head almost touching the highest roost. Rudy had never seen a creature so tall. The monster let out a moan as it lurched forward. "Oh!" The animals tumbled out of the barn in a flurry of feathers. They ran until they reached the top of the hill. Clarissa and Sophie were the slowest runners and the last to arrive, both out of breath. "What was that thing?" Rudy said. "It was the ghost, the poultrygeist," Clarissa gasped. "The legend says the poultrygeist has been sleeping for 100 years, whispered Sophie. "I'm afraid you woke it up with your noise." Nobody dared go back into the barn that night. When the sun rose the next morning, Rudy and Ralph held each other's beaks closed to keep from crowing. It wasn't easy. "Did you see that?" Rudy asked when Ralph finally let go of his beak. The sun came up without us crowing into the sky. "Don't tell anybody," Ralph said. "We'll be out of a job." Everybody stayed out of the barn all day. They even held the Halloween poultry parade outside, which was fun because the costumes looked scarier in the dark. But as the night went on, it got colder and colder. One by one, the shivering animals slipped back inside the haunted barn. Ralph and Rudy were the last ones outside. "My drumsticks have turned into popsicles," Rudy said, his beak chattering. "Let's go in." Inside the barn, the only sound was snoring. There was no sign of the poultrygeist. "Let's pick our roosts." Only 2 left. Ralph scanned the rafters, looking for the poultrygeist. "You take the high roost. I'll take the low roost. The one next to the exit. The door." "No, you should have the highest roof, Ralph. After all, you're taller than me." "I am not," Ralph yelled. "Look, you're slouching," Rudy shouted. Ralph drooped his feathers. You should have the top roost because you are so much more handsome than me. No, I'm ugly, Rudy crowed. Look, get up on that top roost, Ralph hollered. No, you get up there, Rudy screeched. The two roosters rolled around on the floor, feathers flying, and suddenly a shadow fell over them. A very tall shadow. Boo! Howled the poultrygeist. There was a great flapping and squawking as the animals fled to safety, but Ralph and Rudy were trapped in a corner. Yikes! This is it, buddy, Ralph cried. We're gonna be going to that big roost in the sky. Don't give up. We can escape. Rudy grabbed his friend and tried to run around the poultrygeist, but instead, the two roosters smacked right into it, and it didn't feel all clammy and ghost-like. Not at all. Feed sacks, Rudy cried. The poultrygeist is nothing but a bunch of feed sacks all sewn together. Can't be. But Ralph gave a tug on the sacks, and there stood Sophie and Clarissa. Boo! Clarissa mooed, her eyes closed. Enough with the ghost talk, Sophie said. We've been unmasked. Ah, awesome Halloween costume, Ralph said. You sure had us fooled. They weren't fooling, Rudy said. They wanted to scare us into being quiet. Bingo, Sophie said. What gave you the first clue? I don't get it, Ralph said. I was trying hard to be quiet. Not hard enough. Later, when the two roosters were alone, Ralph said, I wasn't really afraid of the poultrygeist. You know, were you? Are you kidding? Rudy squawked. You were so scared you almost choked on your gizzard. I did not. Did too. Did not. Did too. Said Sophie. There's more than one way to quiet a pair of rowdy roosters. So she sat on both of them, and the two rowdy roosters remembered that lesson for a very long time. Ah, friends, have you ever thought something was so scary and then realized, they were tricking me? These grumpy old cow and silly rooster chicken friends. All right, I hope you enjoyed the poultrygeist. A scary story. Not so scary, really kind of silly.
Thank you so much, Miss Bessie. That was amazing. I love hearing those funny and not so scary stories. I want to say hi to a couple of our friends that have joined us. I know Thomas and Max Carper are here. I want to say hello to the Vandegrift family. Hey, Tyler. Hey, Olivia. Hi, Joey. I'm glad you joined us today. Hi to Kaylani Hatcher. It looks like we've got Madeline and Amelia here. So many friends. Rosie, I'm glad you joined us. And I'm going to say hi to Morgan too. Be sure to post hello in the chat so we can say hi back to you. I think we have Miss Chris next with some not so scary stories. Miss Chris, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Principal Dead. Good evening, Corrales Cubs. I can't believe it's already been a year since we've last done this. I'm super excited. As you can see, I have my Halloween books here. And tonight, I'm doing a not so scary story. Some of you might have heard it. Let me know in the chat and let me know if you like it. Tonight, we are going to read A Halloween Scare in New Mexico. Thumbs up. All right, you ready? Prepare, if you dare, a Halloween scare in New Mexico. Prepare, if you dare, for a walk full of chills, a story of frightful New Mexico thrills. And I'll try to get closer for you guys. I know my lights are a little wonky-donkey. A night filled with sights that are best left unseen Are you ready? Are you sure? This was my Halloween. The werewolves howled loudly. The moon shone so bright. I stayed in my bedroom. The curtains shut tight. My heart started pounding. My knees felt so weak. But being a brave kid, I just had to peek. I pulled back the curtains. My mouth opened wide. An army of monsters had gathered outside. They staggered and stumbled and lurched down the streets with bags full of cookies and candy corn treats. Emerging from sewers and houses and stores came creatures and critters with ravenous roars. Then more came along from all over our state. They filled up the streets at a dizzying rate. Look at all of those. There's some skeletons. There's some ghosts. Uh-oh. From Deming and Roswell and Farmington too, a mountain of monsters, the motliest crew, they all gathered together for one spooky night to seek out the living and give them a fright. You guys scared? I might be a little bit. The thunder clapped loudly with terrible booms. The witches dodged lightning and clung to their brooms. The two-headed doggies, they tried chasing their tails. And the banshees let loose with their hideous wails. The vampires hung out on the street in their gangs and grinned just to show off their pearly white fangs. The mummies moaned loudly and swayed side to side, while Frankenstein stomped about town with his new bride. Uh-oh. Let's see what happens. A green, glowing monster crawled out of white sands and lunged for the locals with large melted hands. The isotopes noted his hands and his stature, and one season later, he was their star catcher. The aliens came from a faraway sun and dressed up like humans for frolics and fun. The prickly Mojave cacti grew feet and chased all the tourists the length of Main Street. You can probably hear my ferocious dogs guarding outside. The creepies were crawly. The crazies were crazed. The Las Cruces zombies had eyes that were glazed. The ogres from Roswell were ugly as sin, with big bulging noses and warts on their chin. The ghouls danced around but were lacking in soul. The gargoyles could rock and the headless could roll. Although the whole spectacle seemed to spell doom, I foolishly thought I'd be safe in my room. Can you imagine seeing all of these outside of your bedroom window? But then something happened, and it made my heart jump. From somewhere below, I heard a big thump. I froze for a moment, as quiet as a mouse. Yes, I could hear noises inside of the house. What? All right, now you guys have got to be getting scared because Miss Chris is a little scared. I put on my slippers and pulled on my robe. I shook like a leaf. but I don't think it showed. Then, slowly but surely, I crept down the stairs, preparing myself for the biggest of scares. My hands trembled wildly, and I opened the door. I still shudder now at the horrors I saw. The stereo spat out some hideous sounds as dozens of monsters jumped all around. What? The night was horrific. It made my skin crawl. The monsters were having a Halloween ball. And right in the middle, one monster loomed tall. The hairiest, scariest monster of all. Check out his shirt. I love New Mexico. Oh my goodness. He turned around and saw me, and I fell to my knees. I'm not very tasty, so don't eat me, please. He beamed ear to ear, and he broke free from the huddle. He ran over, and he gave me a big monster cuddle. At last, we have found you, he said with a smile. From Gallup to Carlsbad, we've looked for a while. We came here to give you your wonderful prize. And he held up the trophy in front of my eyes. A prize? And for me? I replied with a grin. But what did I enter and how did I win? Well, you've won first place for the costume you're wearing. It even scares me, and I'm tip-top at scaring. Huh? This isn't a costume. I'm just dressed as me. Exactly. That's the scariest thing you can be. A small human child with a cute button nose, and your teeth are so shiny, and you've only 10 toes. No hair on your face and no horns on your head. The whites of your eyes are not glowing or red. It's a bone-chilling costume, a horrible sight. A worthy ensemble for Halloween night. He looks pretty scary. Let's see what happens. We partied together until the moon set, a Halloween night that I'll never forget. And next year, I won't want to hide in my bed. The monsters won't scare me. I'll scare them instead. Boo! Happy Halloween, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. I cannot wait to hear some more of Principal Dead's jokes, and stay online because we've got some scary visitors coming. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you so much, Miss Chris, for those scary stories. I just want to remind everybody that we still have our pumpkin auction going on. I will post a link to it in the chat right now so that everybody can head on over to the auction site and bid on some pumpkins. There are some really good looking ones. I want to say hello to Dante. I'm sorry that Miss Chris wasn't very scary. But maybe Mrs. Ornelas or Coach Dredd, who will be on in about 5 minutes, will be here to scare you and give you some nightmares tonight. I want to say hi to Odin, hi to Maisie and Clayton Bell. We're glad you guys could join us tonight. I know Sumiko is here. Hi, Sumiko. Hi, Morgan. It's so good to see that all of you are joining us online. It's so nice that we can do scary stories this way every once in a while, and we can't wait to maybe do it in person possibly next year. I'm wondering, Miss Chris, if you know, what do you get when you cross Bambi with a ghost?
What do I get when I cross Bambi with a ghost? I don't know.
Bamboo.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, Lila, Nina, and Ruby. I'm glad that you joined us tonight, too. It's good to see that you're here. What do ghosts use to do their makeup? They use vanishing cream. I don't know if anybody knows what vanishing cream is anymore. I'm not sure it's something that that kids use these days. Why are skeletons so calm? Because they don't let anything get under their skin. That's a pretty good one. Mrs. Ornelas, I'm not sure if you're here. I know that you're, oh my goodness. I don't think that's Mrs. Ornelas at all. Let's see what's going on. I think somebody might have entered the screen.
No, she's not here. She's in the back room. I locked her up. I am here to tell you a scary story. It's kind of a scary story. You can say it is. You can say it isn't. It's up to you. This story is one of my favorites. One of my friends had come to visit me, but he couldn't stay very long. How many of you have ever been invited to a party? If you have, put your thumb up. I have a little friend here who's going to talk to you for a second. Hola, yo soy Señor Ratón. Hi, Señor Ratón, what are you doing? Have you ever been invited to a party? Yes, I have. Well, would you sit down and get ready for my story? So here I go. Are you ready? In my class, whenever I tell a story, I get ready. Story time! Story time! Let's get ready. Here we go. This is a favorite book. And girls and boys, it was found today. Witch, come to my party. I think they're inviting me. It is written by Arden Juice and illustrated by Pat Lulo. Witch, come to my party. This little girl is talking. Ready? She's writing invitations. Witch, please come to my party. Thank you. I will. If you invite cats. Look at the beautiful pictures. I drew them specially for you. Cat, please come to my party. Meow, meow. Thank you. I will. If you invite Scarecrow. Meow. Scarecrow, please come to my party. Ooh, thank you. I will. If you invite Owl. Owl, please come to my party. Ooh, ooh. Thank you. Ooh, I will. If you invite Tree. This is an amazing book. The pictures are amazing. Tree, please come to my party. Thank you. I will, if you invite Goblin. Goblin, please come to my party. Thank you. I will, if you invite Dragon. Shh. Dragon, will you please come to my party? Thank you. I will, if you invite Pirate. Shh. Pirate, will you please come to my party? Arr! Thank you, I will. Arr! If you invite Shark. Shark, will you please come to my party? Thank you. I will, if you invite Snake. Snake, will you please come to my party? Thank you. I will, if you invite Unicorn. Unicorn, will you please come to my party? Thank you. I will, if you invite Ghost. Ghost, please come to my party. Ooh, I will, if you invite Baboon. Baboon, please come to my party. Thank you. I will, if you invite Wolf, please come to my party. Thank you. I will, if you invite Little Red Riding Hood. Red Riding Hood, please come to my party. I will, if you invite all the children. Thank you. We will, if you invite Witch. The children, please come to my party. And if you look closely, all the children were the characters. They were dressed up as each character I read about. So when you go to a party, dress up, have fun, but be careful. Maybe someone isn't a character at all. Maybe they're a real person. Thank you. Happy Halloween. Enjoy the rest of the show. Bye-bye.
That was horrifying, whoever you are, masquerading as Mrs. Ornelas. It looks like we have another guest in our studio tonight. Coach Dredd, what have you done with Coach Dolan? I was expecting Coach Dolan to scare our students, and it looks like somebody else has joined us.
She's far too nice to be here tonight.
Do you have any scary stories to tell us? The kids are waiting.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's start this journey together, but I must warn you, these scary stories are not meant for those who like to sleep alone at night. So, if you're prepared for nightmares and wonderful things along those lines to come your way, buckle up. Here we come. This first story is called Bathroom Mirror. I don't know about you, but have you ever gotten out of the shower and thought you've seen something in the mirror that doesn't make quite much sense? Here we go. A man was taking a shower in his bathroom, and he was reaching for the towel when he saw something in the bathroom mirror. It was a strange shadow, and as soon as he laid eyes on it, it darted out of his vision. He began to think to himself, oh, it must just be my imagination. He stared at the mirror a bit while and tried to figure out what he had seen. He began to dry himself again and told himself that this was all just a figment of his imagination. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw another shadow flickering past in the mirror. He walked towards the mirror. He put his hand against it, and he rubbed at it. He began to rub and rub. What was that? When his wife arrived home later that evening, the man was nowhere to be seen. After searching the house from top to bottom, calling her husband's name, she began to become very worried. The only trace she could find of him was one wet towel lying on the bathroom floor. She phoned the police and reported her husband missing. So be careful. First of all, I don't advise taking showers at night. And second, always be checking, because you never quite know what's behind that glass. Story number 1. Are you ready for more? If not, I suggest you go back home, because this next story is all about growing up on a farm. See, I was born in Kansas, and my father, well, he was a farmer. And this is a story about what happened to me one night with my most favorite scarecrow. Have you seen those in our village? You might not want to turn your back on them. You see, like I just told you, I lived on a small farm far out in the country. And every year, my father would put out scarecrows into our field because he thinks they're effective, not only in keeping the crows out, but keeping out the evil spirits as well. And the scarecrow he sets out are the same ones year after year. And so much wear and tear, they were beginning to show, and they were beginning to fade. And I thought to myself, I can create a better scarecrow. You see, this October started out just like any other. The weather was turning cool, and the leaves were beginning to change into brilliant orange and yellow colors. That was when I got my idea. I was going to make the new scarecrow. Being creative, I gathered all of my supplies that I could find. This scarecrow was going to be different. This was my special design. I wanted a creepy scarecrow, much scarier than the others. Hours later, I finished up, and indeed, he was the ugliest, most frightening scarecrow I had ever seen. And I was proud. My mom called us in for supper, and so we planted the scarecrow out in the cornfield where I could see it from my bedroom window. Not giving it any more thought, we went in and we ate. Soon the wind began to pick up. And then came the rain and the lightning. Pow, pow, pow! No storm was forecasted, but it looked like we were in for a rough night. Light rain began to fall, pitter-patter, 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 and I went up to bed. I was worried about my new scarecrow, so I peeked out my window. But what I saw, it shocked and confused me. He was there all right, but he wasn't where I had placed him. It seemed as though he had moved several feet to the right. Confused, I stood at the window watching. Pow! Lightning flashed again, and every time it flashed, I could just barely make out my scarecrow. But the problem was, it looked as though he was moving when the sky was dark, only to turn up in another spot when the sky lit up. Thinking I must be imagining things, I put on my pajamas and I went to bed. Later on, crack! A loud crack of lightning and thunder woke me up. By now, the rain was pouring down, making it difficult to see out my window. I slipped on my shoes and I snuck outside to check on my scarecrow. Not sure where he was, I walked around the thunderstorm, half blinded by the cold, stinging rain. Clumsily, I tripped over a fallen branch and I fell face down in a patch of mud. When I looked up, there was my scarecrow! It was looking down on me, glaring at me. Eyes are huge and glowing red. I couldn't pick myself up fast enough. I ran screaming back to the house as fast as I could. Every time I looked behind me, he was getting closer and closer. I walked myself in my room and put those covers over my head and prayed. I prayed that he would not come into my room. I tossed and I turned for the rest of the night, and I woke up to brilliant sunshine and the smell of bacon. Not wanting to tell my parents what had happened, I sat down quietly and ate my breakfast. I then went outside to take a look around. My dad was already looking for the damage to the buildings, but I was looking for my scarecrow. I could see the other scarecrows, all in their usual places, but my scarecrow, he was nowhere to be found. Full of confusion, I began to cry, not because of losing my scarecrow, but because of pure fear. My father told me that he probably blew away and he would be discovered in the field during harvest. But I knew better. Somehow, some way, my scarecrow came alive. I don't know how. Now the years had passed and I worked down in Corrales. And every fall, my heart begins to beat just a little bit faster as I drive down Corrales Road. But the worst part is when I drive out after school and it's dark and I see 1, 2, 3, all the scarecrows. And you know what? I'm pretty sure their heads turn to follow me as I pass. Are you doing okay? We got some more. Hold on tight, my friends. If it's too much, turn off. We need to sleep in our own beds tonight, not with our parents. I don't want any emails. Okay. This next one is one called Bird Singing. Isn't that beautiful? Bird singing. I love to hear birds singing. But have you ever heard birds singing at night? They should be asleep, shouldn't they? Here we go. Last summer, it was a hot summer. Every night was so hot. I had to sleep with my windows open. Usually, I sleep soundly, but one night, I couldn't get to sleep. I kept tossing and I kept turning. I could hear the sound of birds singing outside my window. It was keeping me awake. There was a large tree by my window. Do you have a tree by yours? You might want to cut it down after this. And that's where the sound was coming from. Eventually, I realized there was no way I could fall asleep with that noise. So I leaned out the window and I shouted, "Come on! Be quiet! I'm trying to go to sleep!" And I listened. I listened hard for the flapping of the wings. There was no answer. "Go on! Shoo!" But then, oh friends, And then it dawned on me. It was after 2 a.m. What birds would be singing at that time? They should all be asleep by now. I peered into my darkness. I so wish I hadn't. Swinging by the branches of my tree, I could make out two dark, strange silhouettes. They looked almost human. The figures were perched on a tree, much like a bird would be, but the size of humans, directly across from my window. I felt sick. The air was thick, and I felt like I couldn't even breathe. Quickly, I shut the window, and as I did, guess what I could hear? Tap, 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 coming from my window. Needless to say, I didn't get any sleep that night, and I went around my house making sure every window was closed. Every door was locked. And now, no matter how hot it is, I never sleep with my windows open. Do you ever hear a tap tapping at your window? Have you ever been brave enough to look out and see what it was? Don't do it now. Are we okay? We got one more, and I personally think this is the worst of the bunch. This one is called Look at Me. And it's all about how maybe we all need to take off our headphones and take out our earbuds and make sure that we're around and aware of what we have around us, because you never know what you're missing if you can't hear what's around you. Here we go, friends. Last one. One evening when I was in high school, my mom and my dad went out, leaving me home alone. I had a lot of homework to do, so I spent the whole evening sitting at the desk in my bedroom, listening to music on my headphones and completing my work. My parents left the house around 6 p.m., and while I was doing my homework, I listened to my music quite loudly. There was a big storm that night, and my desk was facing the window, so I got to watch the rain and the lightning. My parents got home around 11 p.m., and when I saw their car drive up, I took off my headphones. As soon as my mom opened the front door and came inside, I heard her shout my name. "Leah! What on earth happened here?" she demanded in an angry voice. I was quite confused. What was she talking about? I had been in my room all night. I ran down my stairs. My mom was standing in the hallway with a furious look on her face, and she pointed at the floor and yelled, "Was this you?" I looked down at the floor, and I saw that the carpet was covered in muddy footprints. I have no idea how those got here, I said. I spent the whole night at my desk doing my homework. I watched the look on her face change from anger to confusion, and then to fear. We both realized it at the same time. Someone must be in the house. We followed that trail of footsteps, trying to make sense of the whole situation. They started at the back door, which I always left unlocked. And then we noticed something. There was no trail of footprints leaving through the back door. All of a sudden, we heard a loud pounding. Pound, 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 that echoed through our house. The sound of the front door being wrenched open and then slammed shut again. We all ran into the garage and we locked the door behind us. My mom took out her cell phone and called the police. "Please come quickly, please! Someone is in our house!" After what seemed like hours, a patrol car arrived with 2 police officers. One officer stayed with us in the garage, while his partner went through the house, searching room by room. When they came back, the officer told us that there was no one in the house, and we'd be safe to go back in. As we were all breathing a sigh of relief, she asked, "Whose bedroom is upstairs on the left?" My parents looked at me.
That's mine, I told the officer. She asked us to follow her. As we walked through the house, we could see the trail of the muddy footprints leading from the back door, through the living room, through the hallway, up the stairs, into my parents' bedroom, and then turning towards my room. They stopped at my doorway. The female officer pointed at my door, which had been open the whole night, and scrawled with black marker was the following: 8:47. I see you. 8:53. You forgot to lock the back door. 8:59. You must be focused. 9:24. Turn around. 9:47. Look at me. 10:15. Look at me. 10:37. Look at me. 10:49. Glad you did. For more than 2 hours, someone had been standing in my doorway, watching me. And to this day, I still shudder to think what would have happened if I only turned around. Friends, I hope you sleep well tonight. Take off those headphones. Be aware of your surroundings. You might want to buddy up with somebody. Sweet dreams.
That was horrifying, Coach Dredd. I'm not sure if I can trust you to continue teaching PE at our school. You might just scare our kiddos quite too much. I want to remind everybody, perhaps after those spine-tingling tales, you'll cheer up by looking at some of the beautiful pumpkins that we still have up for auction. I will post the link one more time in the chat. Remember, you can always get to it via Class Dojo to bid on some amazing pumpkins. And we'll announce all the winners from the pumpkin contest, I believe either tomorrow or on Friday. So be ready for that. I know lots of us have homework and we have to be up early again for school tomorrow. So have an amazing evening. Sleep tight.